Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio, so today we need to take a look at the top 10 cards from Mythical Island. The new Pokémon TCG Pocket set literally launched today. Came out today, when I'm going to bring you my top 10 list, but it comes with a gigantic caveat. And a gigantic caveat is, the set's been out a couple of hours. This is not, I've done a huge amount of testing over the course of a couple of weeks and decided these are the best cards. Most of these were not revealed in advance, so this is my first impression top 10. Not my I've done a ridiculous amount of testing, there literally hasn't been time. This is my first impression top 10. Happy to come with one down the line where I've done a lot more testing, played a lot more games, but I figured a lot of you are going to want to know what you should be starting off with. That's where this video comes in. But like I've said, think of this as a first impressions top 10. So how about a few that didn't make the list? I'm kind of partial to Sigilif here. Single energy, 10 damage, but you get to draw a card. I like the idea that in the early game you can use this to build up your hand. Try not to give up a prize with it though, or a point. That will be a bad thing. Similarly, I like the Mew, single energy, 20 damage, and you get to look at your opponent's hand. That's really nice for planning for the rest of the game. It's a good starting Pokemon in the Psychic decks. I'm quite a big fan of the Wheezing. I do like the Wheezing in this set, because we've got a nice little attack here, 2 energy, 50 damage, but they've got to flip a coin to attack next turn, and if tails, nothing happens. Ha! But it's only the defending Pokemon, they can bring up a new one to get around it, and it is flippy, so it's not going to work often enough for me to put it on the list. Galvantula I kind of like, 2 energy, 70 stops your opponent retreating, but we don't really have switching effects very well in this game, so when you stop them retreating, you trap them in the active a lot better than you do in the main card game, and I like this. A card I'm low-key obsessed with, and I came so close to putting this on the list, Eevee. Oh, this Eevee almost made the list. Single energy, flip a coin till you get tails, 20 for each heads. Turn 1, go second. If you can flip enough heads, you can get early KOs, and this is hilarious to me. It's not going to work often enough, but still. We got Tauros, free energy, 120 to an EX. It's situational, and it's a lot of energy, and that puts me off, but I still like it. Mythical Slab, let's look at the top card of your deck. If it is a Psychic Pokemon, you put it into your hand. I want more of this kind of card in the future. It's more consistency for Psychic decks. This one maybe should have even been on the list. It is going to give a big consistency boost to Psychic decks. Look out for this one. I'm already regretting not putting it on the list. And then the Revenge Marshadow. I'm going to show you the Okacheke print of this because, oh my word. But this is a 100 damage if you had a Pokemon KO'd last turn. Love leaving this on the bench, attaching an energy when it's convenient, and then when I have a Pokemon KO'd, pop another energy on, come in, hit for 100. Of these cards, I think Mythical Slab and Eevee are the best of them, but make no mistake about it, all the ones I've just mentioned could be good. So coming in at actual number 10, we've got the new Liepard. Now, I initially had this much higher, and then I dropped it down to number 10 because we did get Golbat in Genetic Apex. The theory here is very simple. Stage 1, single energy, 40 damage, KOs are Routes. And Routes is great right now. These Psychic decks see a bunch of play. And there will be more in the future that have 60 HP and weak to darkness. And we didn't have a great one of these. And the theory is, turn 1, you go first. Your opponent has a turn but can't evolve but can attack. And then turn 2, you evolve energy, boom, 60 on something like a Routes. The problem is we did get Golbat in Genetic Apex, which is single energy 40. The thing is, you put them side by side, Liepard's got an extra 20 HP, which is great. And then if you have a look at Purloin against Zubat, you got an extra 10 HP and you do an extra 10 damage. So the whole evolution line is just better and it hits key numbers. I think this is an impactful card. It's not a very fun card to put on the list. And if you want to swap this out for Mythical Slab, I won't be upset. But I do think it's going to make an impact. In at number 9, we've got Pidgeot EX, which is one of these Pokemon that fits into the category of really interesting, might be too awkward. You see, what we've got here is an attack for free energy on a stage 2, but it does 80 damage base plus 20 more for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So here, if your opponent's got a full bench, you do 140. Also, it's not on the list, but I need to at this point mention Pokemon Flute, which lets you put a basic from your opponent's discard pile onto their bench. If they're trying to keep their bench low and they've got Pokemon in the discard, this will actually help. They just won't always have Pokemon in the discard. But if you're playing this, very useful card. Love that you can do 140, but the free energy in the stage 2 just really puts me off a bit here. Still a huge amount of potential. In at number 8, we've got Vaporeon, which is kind of like Pidgeot, but I like it a lot more. It's a single prize Pokemon rather than a 2 prize Pokemon, or point Pokemon I should say. And we've got single energy, 10 damage plus 20 more for each of your opponent's bench. So a lot of the time this should end up being a single energy 70 damage. Love it. Absolutely love it. Stage 1, 1 energy, that is more like it. In at number 7, we've got Serperior, and I feel like this set is trying hard to make us realise that Serperior needs to be good. Also, lovely full art of it. Because Serperior's got the ability that doubles up all your grass energy on the field. It doesn't stack, but if you've got at least 1 Serperior, all your grass energy count for 2. The thing is, we got things like Celebi. Celebi is flip a coin for each energy attached to this Pokemon, 50 for each heads. Terrible unless you've got Serperior. Delmai, single energy 20, but if you've got 4 energy, it does 90. Terrible unless you've got Serperior. Executor, 4 energy, 80 damage, 20 more for each energy attached to your opponent's active. Terrible unless you've got Serperior. So I'm putting it up on the list because the game clearly wants it to be good. I'm not convinced yet because it's a stage 2, but there's certainly a lot of Pokemon that are going to love it, so I think it deserves to be on the list. In at number 6, I'm cheating. I'm putting Blue and I'm putting Leaf. 2 new supporter cards. You can't stop me. Although you can leave a mean comment, but please don't because I'll be sad. These are just new supporter cards. They are both situational. They're both great. Blue says you take 10 damage less from attacks during your opponent's next turn. It's the anti-Giovanni. Instead of doing 10 more on your turn, you take 10 less on your opponent's. And Leaf is double X speed, because you get to reduce your retreat cost by 2. Both good, both going to see a huge amount of play. In at number 5, we've got Aerodactyl. Now, firstly, I love this for the alternate art, which is Redonk. But also, it's got a great ability whereby your opponent cannot evolve their active by playing cards from their hand. There are issues with this, the fact that you've got to play it from an Old Amber. And of course, Old Amber won't be searched out with Pokeball, for instance, so it's more awkward to get into play. The fact that your opponent can just evolve on the bench and all of that. But there's still going to be plenty of times they want to evolve the active, so I think this could end up being a very good card. In at number 4, which was actually at number 9, and then I started recording the video and I was like, no. In at number 4, and honestly, there's a strong argument to move it even higher. We've got Vaporeon. Vaporeon's nuts. It's ridiculous. It's got an ability that says, as often as you like during your turn, you can move a water energy from one of your bench water Pokemon to your active water Pokemon. Brilliant. Let's say I'm attacking with an Articuno. I'm using Blizzard, free energy. Oh, it's quite expensive. I'm about to be KO'd. I play a couple of X speed or a Leaf or something like that. I retreat Articuno, keep the energy, use Vaporeon to move it to my other Articuno, and then just start smashing again. You can just switch energy after retreating so that you're not giving up prizes or losing energy. Or you can fix one of the biggest issues with Misty. Misty gives phenomenal energy acceleration, as we all know, but the issue with Misty is, if you draw it and play it early, you might not have the energy on the right Pokemon. Well, this just says, fine, move it to the Pokemon you do want. Love this card, absolutely brilliant. Water Debt's got a lot better. And don't forget, I told you about that Eevee a minute ago. Legitimately adore this Eevee. And I think people are going to get some cheeky wins with this Eevee. But in at number 3, a Pokemon that's going to love Vaporeon, it's Gyarados. I love Gyarados. Huge fan of Gyarados. Adore this Gyarados. Yes, it evolves from a 30 HP Magikarp. No, I don't really care. Although you do have to be super careful here, because if your opponent has the first attack and you leave this Magikarp in the active, there's a lot that can do 30 damage. That's the downside. The upside, 180 HP on a stage 1 is absurd, and 4 energy 140 is nuts. Absolutely nuts. This is going to get you so many KOs on so many EXs. And you're not even hitting a terrible weakness here, so you should be 10 damage short of Arcanine, but the weakness will get you over the line. Which is even better. You won't quite get Charizard, annoyingly, but you'll get most things. And I love this. Yes, you do have to discard a random energy from one Pokemon, yours or your opponent's, and that is random. Don't really care. 180 HP, dealing 140 damage. That's ridiculous. In at number 2, the pair of Pikachu and Raichu. Also, as a side note, when I showed you the half a Pikachu card the other day, I told you that I thought Circle Circuit was going to be 1 energy. And if it was, it was great. If it was 2, it was annoying. It's 1, it's great. You see, Pikachu, single energy, 10 for each of your bench lightning Pokemon. That should be, a lot of the time, single energy 30. That's awesome. Raichu, free energy, 60 damage, plus 20 to each of your opponent's bench. So lots of damage being spread around. The thing is, if we go back to Genetic Apex, we've got Lieutenant Surge. And what Lieutenant Surge does is moves all lightning energy from your benched Pokemon to your active Raichu, Electrode, or Electabuzz. This is perfect, because then you remember we had Magneton as well, stage 1 that gets an extra energy onto itself each turn. Use Magneton to get extra energy. This can be rolling turn 2. Turn 1, you attach an energy to Pikachu and bench a Magnemite. Turn 2, you evolve into Raichu, attach a second energy. Use Magneton to get an energy, use Surge to move it over. This could be a legit turn 2 play. I was not a huge fan of the Raichu from Genetic Apex, because even though 140 is great, discarding all energy was super annoying to me. Well, now, you can play both of them, and you've got one that doesn't discard all the energy, and if your opponent's got the wrong Pokemon in the active, or you can play someone like a Sabrina to force the wrong Pokemon into the active, if you can get 1 or 2 turns where your opponent can't get out the active, this can absolutely wreck. Plus, Pikachu being basically single energy 30 a lot of the time, I think is absolutely brilliant. Yes, I do think there is a significant difference between this and single energy 20, which we did obviously see before, and I just think this is great. I'm a huge fan of this. I think this is a wonderful pair of Pokemon. It's my second favourite in the set. And I know you could switch this out for things like Gyarados or Vaporeon. There are some really good cards in the set. I like Pikachu and Raichu number 2. But in at number 1, it's Mew. Like when I showed you Mew the other day, I told you Mew was absurd. I told you Mew was busted and way too good. And since then, nothing has happened to change my mind. Mew is an absurd card. It's 130 HP basic. Single energy 20 is not terrible. But free colorless energy, choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks and copy it. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Because any Pokemon that can KO itself, you are just wrecking here. So you come up against something like a Charizard? Yeah, Crimson Storm, 200 damage. You shouldn't need to discard 2 fire energy if it works like it does in the main game, so you can go and get the KO on that. Mewtwo, same kind of attack. They're a stage 2. They need 4 energy. You're a basic. You need 3. You get to KO them. It's not going to work with things like Pikachu that specifically do damage based on your bench lightning Pokemon. But, oh, it's going to do a lot. There are a lot of Pokemon now that it KOs. There'll be a lot more in the future. And it's all colorless energy on a basic, so it can be put into literally any deck whatsoever. Make no mistake about it. The rest of this list, I think there are some arguments to be made. I think after I've done a whole bunch more testing, we are going to come back and I'm going to change some things on this list. I'm going to change it around. I don't expect any card to get close to Mew EX. I expect Mew EX to be the best card in the set by a huge margin. I think there are some cards at the bottom of the list you can move off for some of my honourable mentions. I think you can move other cards on the list around. Remember, this is deliberately supposed to be a first impressions top 10. But I'm telling you right now, Mew is the best card in the set, and I feel very, very strongly about this. Also, maybe the best art in the set, definitely top 2 artwork, the Hygenosuke Mew is phenomenal. Okay, there we go. I've told you all that, so now it's over to you guys. What do you like about the list? What do you dislike? Which cards would you put on the list? The only thing I ask is, you can't just put a card on the list, you have to take a card off. You can't just move a card up the list, you have to tell me what you're moving down to make room, otherwise it's not fair. And if you want to put a full top 10 in the comment section, we can be friends. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Gyarados! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus pods and all kinds of fun things. And get shoutouts on the channel like the lovely Dojo, who's been a supporter of ours for a while now and is lovely. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.